Good evening.
Hello.
I'm John Singer from LaVorp, and you are?
Pat.
And
Marty.
Marty. Oh, here's my card. I was just thinking, as I walked in, when we did the meeting with the other party, they referred to you as Marty, and I was thinking it might have been a boy, so I was using that name in the other meeting, so we won't call you a boy today.
Thank you.
Now that I'm here and notice that, so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about our program. I am sorry about the loss of your backpack and the resulting financial losses and the challenges that caused for you. And the purpose of our program is to help you address that harm that came from that incident at the school. What we are, and it's a big name, is called Restorative Justice Program. It's an opportunity for us to address the harm that came from the situation as opposed to the consequences for breaking the law. The person that took your backpack has gone through juvenile probation and is working with them for the consequences for breaking the law, but they cannot address the harm that came between the parties. And that's the purpose of our program, is to invite you to a voluntary meeting with that other party that took your backpack and parents to talk about the incident and try to make things as right as possible. And if we should get together, we would typically do that in a neutral location, and generally we work with churches in the area where the incident occurred. Well, let me tell you what we're going to cover in the next 15 minutes or so. We're going to talk about confidentiality. We're going to talk about my role as a facilitator. We're going to talk about what happened, which is what we call about facts and feelings of the meeting if we get together. And after you've explained the situation, Marty, we'll ask Mom to talk about her perspective of what happened to the family and the effects on the family. And then we'll talk about what happens in meetings should we get together. And we'll talk about addressing the harm. And then we'll talk about the benefits of that face-to-face meeting. Okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, this is a confidential meeting. What we discuss here just stays between us. My only obligation is to report back to LaVorp and also the referring agency. The only exception to that would be if there is any threat to cause harm or any actual harm, or if there is any false information that would be given during any agreement that we would come to should we have a meeting and work things out regarding the backpack and the other things that were in the backpack. Any questions about confidentiality?
When you say confidentiality, does that mean that the person that we're meeting with face to face, can they go back to school and tell people?
We would ask them the same thing that we would ask of you, to maintain confidentiality. We can't control what they do. But if that's something that you would like, then you can ask them of that and put it in the agreement.
Yes.
And we'll talk about an agreement here in a minute.
Yes, Mom, because I don't want them to go back in school and say anything, because I'll be scared.
I can certainly understand that.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that then. My role is just to facilitate the process, is to bring the parties together and not make any decisions. It'll be between you and them to decide how you want to address the harm.
Okay.
Okay? And at this point, Marty, tell me about this incident. What happened, how it affected your life and the family, and just give me all the scenarios. And if I need some information that I'm looking for that I don't hear, I'll ask you a few questions, but just tell me all about the incident.
Well, we just moved from a new town and stuff and going to a new school, and I was already picked on by one of the classmates. I've already felt isolation, I felt lonely, and I just went to my locker and I just set my backpack down. The next thing I know, when I turned around, it was gone. It was gone, and I panicked. My mom's credit card was in there, the $150 that she gave me cash to get some clothes and stuff. I was wearing these hand-me-down. I was excited about getting new clothes. My mom just got a job, and I was like real scared. Why would they do something like that to me? Am I different? You know, I look at my classmates and everything, and I'm the only dark one. Did they just target me because I'm black? You know, who would do something like that? They don't know my financial circumstances. They don't know how hard my mom worked and everything. So it just made me more fearful. Like, I don't want to trust people and everything. I don't have no friends and everything. It's like, I don't know why kids are they so cruel? Do they have to be so cruel to take everything that I own and stuff? Then I went home and I had to tell my mom and see the expression on her face and everything. But my mom is just so great to me and she trusts me and everything. And she was just so supportive, and that only thing made it a little bit easier. But still, I still have to go back to school and face these people, and I just feel so bad. I feel so bad for my mom, because we just do not have it. I don't even care about the clothes now and everything. I just feel so bad.
Sounds frightful for you, and really upsetting in your life.
Yes, it is, because we are really struggling. We are really struggling. My lunch money was in there. I can't even eat lunch and everything, you know. I had to pay for my lunch and stuff. The money was in there. Everything was in there. It's like everything was in there that we fought so hard. We don't have extra money. And whoever did it and everything, I wonder, do they know? Do they care? Mom, I'm
Wow.
sorry, but, you know, that's just how I feel. I don't know. That's why I don't know if I want to go face to face with these people.
Well, you know, Marty, exactly what you're explaining to me is the purpose of the meeting, for that person that took your bag to understand just how you feel so that they can be accountable to you, learn the impact of their actions, and make amends to you. And telling me like that, as you did, is helpful for you should we get together so that they understand how this affected you and your family. And I appreciate your sharing. And I'm hearing that not only are you concerned about the loss of the bag and the card and the money in there, but you're wondering if you were targeted by a racist.
Yes, and you know, and then I'm scared, will they retaliate? Will their friends retaliate? You know, at this meeting you're talking about, will they be able to say derogatory statements and everything?
No, we'll talk about that in a minute here. We have
Okay.
ground rules on the way we are when we get to these meetings, and it's a good question. And if you'll hold that, we'll talk about that. But, and again, if there's something that you fear that they might do after the meeting, should there be one, then you can put that in the agreement if they're willing to agree to anything that you would ask of them, to keep this confidential, to not tell their friends, to not retaliate against you. And you'll notice when we talk about this agreement that there's a part in here that addresses that issue, that they promise not to reoffend you again. And hopefully nobody else for that matter, that they learn from
And
this.
do they have to go by that agreement? We put all that in there.
We put all that in there, and it is a binding agreement, but like all legal things, they can be broken. Your only option, according to the court system, would be to file a civil suit if that's what you wanted. But then you'd have to weigh the cost of an attorney against what you've lost. But we do find that 95% of the time, individuals that work with us and the other parties who have caused the harm complete the agreements. Pat, tell me about this and how it affected, as you see it, Marty and yourself.
Well, it did affect Marty. We just moved into the community, like she said. And she mentioned she didn't have friends, and I have really not had time to make connections either, because I've been working. And Marty's been a very responsible person. You can tell, or I wouldn't have let her have my charge card. It was not just the money, and it was not just the charge card. In it were her textbooks. And so we're out the money for textbooks. She doesn't have the textbooks to be studying now. And the one thing I needed to do was to go down to the school and talk with the counselor. And that was not easy, to go in and admit that I didn't have the money for Marty's lunch, and I didn't have bus ticket money because of moving expenses. I do have a job, but we just didn't have money to make up for this, nor did I have money to get the textbooks. So in the meantime, they've let us have lunch tickets for Marty and a transportation ticket so she can get to school, and she's borrowed textbooks. But she wants to have her bag back and the textbooks and the money, and we stopped the charge card, so there were no extra charges on that. Fortunately, Marty was kind enough to tell me as soon as she came home, because she knew I normally trusted her. But still I'm upset. I'm angry at this, whoever did it, and I don't even know who I'm angry at. I just know I'm angry at someone for doing it.
I can appreciate that this whole thing sounds unsettling and disruptive for you folks.
It has been.
Mhm. Well, I appreciate your sharing. Let me tell you what a meeting would look like should we get together, and it might help you feel more comfortable about that possibility. Again, keep in mind, I've already met with them. I found them to be respectful and wanting to make things right, and that's why I'm here talking with you. And I think it can be a comfortable meeting, but you need to make that decision for yourself. What we start out with are ground rules, or the way we would like to be. Let me lead the meeting. As I said earlier, I'm just a facilitator, not to make decisions. We have no interruptions. We respect each other's time to talk because we all will get a chance to talk. There'll be no shouting, hollering, swearing, or put-downs. We do know that emotions can be expressed and they're expected, but being respectful is what we do ask of each other. And again, they've agreed to these rules as well, and we'll go over them at the meeting should we get together. And we just asked everybody to be truthful. Would those be rules that you probably could
I can.
Yes, yes.
apply? Believe in?
Yes.
Okay. All right. What would happen then, the first part of the meeting, we would ask the other party to explain exactly what was involved in taking your backpack. You then would have an opportunity to summarize and ask questions about that incident. Then you would have an opportunity, just as you did with me this evening, to tell them how this impacted your life, what you've gone through. And they can summarize, and we summarize for clarity, and then they would ask questions of you. When these facts and feelings, part of the meeting, is over, we would then go in and talk about what's needed. How do we address your harm that came from them? What is it you need to make things right for you? And the third part of the meeting is what's next? What about an agreement? And this is what we work with in terms of an agreement. Anything that you folks would agree upon would go into this. The front part deals with the possibility of financial restitution, community service, whatever may be agreed upon. On the back, it talks about what I was just saying, building trust for the future, what's next. They're agreeing, or at least the other party agreeing not to offend you again. And by the time that they come to this meeting, they will learn that you didn't come to retaliate against them, but were looking to address your harm and making things right. As I said before, this agreement will be completed by everybody and sent back to the referring agency, and copies would be sent out to everybody as a result of the agreements that you came to.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that in the agreement, the courts can make them pay my mom back her money that she lost?
Well, no, that's a good point. The purpose of our meeting is for you to work out an arrangement with the other party to reimburse you in the manner that you wish, and then we put that in this agreement. That agreement will go back to the court, and they accept that as a binding agreement for that other party. Okay.
Yes.
All right, now, let's discuss what actually happened in terms of your losses. You talked to me about a backpack, cash, a credit card. We only work with out-of-pocket expenses, so I don't hear anything that might not have been out of pocket in terms of your loss. Emotionally and psychologically and spiritually, there might have been, that's possible, of course. But working with out-of-pocket expenses, what are we looking at? Because I have a referral sheet here, but it's not clear as to how much you would be asking the other party to reimburse you for. Tell us about that. Tell me about that.
Well, you had your lunch tickets for the 2 weeks period. And you had your bus tickets were for 2 weeks. And the textbooks are gone. And they were $20 each.
And don't forget the $150 that you gave me. The $150 that you gave me to buy clothes.
And we had the backpack.
And I want my backpack. That's a special backpack. My mom bought that backpack for me for my birthday, and she didn't have the money. So I want my backpack, textbooks, And I want them to reimburse my mom $150. I don't even wanna buy it for clothes, Mom. You can have the $150, cause you scuffily get the $150.
Well, we'll get, if we're going to a meeting, I should think the $150 that was in that bag should come back too.
Well, let's look at this. You say $150 in cash. You said something about lunch money. How much was that? Were there lunch tickets or
It was
pass?
lunch tickets. They gave you
Uh-huh.
lunch tickets, 2 weeks of lunch tickets, and it's $2 a day.
$10 a week, $20?
Right.
Yes.
Okay, and you said you lost a bus pass?
And I lost my bus pass, Mom.
And how much was on that, do you recall?
I think the bus pass was like $25. This was for a month.
Okay, and books?
Yes, and my books.
Mhm.
My
Do you
books was
have any
around
idea
about,
what they
Mom,
would cost to replace?
I think around about $80. It was
Mhm.
2 textbooks, it was my pencil holder, and it was my binder with all my homework and everything in it.
And how
And
about the bag?
backpack.
And Mom, how much did you pay for that backpack? That was a
Backpack.
nice backpack.
I think it was $40.
Mhm. Okay, so we got $5 and we got 2, 4, 12, 16, 21. We're talking roughly maybe in a ballpark of $315. Now, it's possible, and I must admit, I neglected to go over that with them. You did not get anything at all returned to you, the bag, the text or anything?
No,
Well, if
no.
they have them, I will check with them before we come to a joint meeting, to bring them to the meeting if they have the bag or the textbook or whatever it is that they might still have, okay?
Okay.
Yes,
Mm.
yes.
So we would not then expect them to pay that for what they do return, would that be correct from your point of view?
Yes.
Unless they've damaged it.
Damage would be certainly something to consider, that's a good point. Okay, so we have lunch, we're talking about, we have bus, text, bag, and the cash. Well, I think the figure that we talked to them about was somewhere in that area, but we'll iron that out when we get to the meeting and you talk to them about presenting your losses and what it might take. I suppose that these type of things there aren't receipts for. Typically, we ask for receipts, and the bag's probably been bought some time ago. But it's logical, they know that they took a bag, they know there was a credit card involved and cash. They're aware of a lot of this, maybe not the lunch ticket, but I think we're talking about things that we don't really need a receipt, like if we were talking about damage to a vehicle or vandalism, repair of something in the house, we would have receipts. So we don't need to be talking about that at this meeting.
And it's reasonable because the textbooks are the ones in school, so everyone knows how much books
Sure,
cost.
that's correct.
They know how much lunches are.
Well, Pat, Marty, let me tell you, the benefit of this program, as I said earlier, is to help the parties to come together. Maybe there'll be some reconciliation, maybe there's some healing, maybe you won't become friends the rest of your life, but it is a way to address the harm. It gives you an opportunity to work toward closure, get those feelings out that you've talked about, put a human face to the incident. You might have some questions that you want answered, and tell about your experience, which we know is part of the healing process. You're empowered to be part of the justice system, which as you see, they've gone through the justice system up to this point, other than maybe having a victim impact statement or a restitution claim form, you've kind of been out of the picture, but this gives you opportunity to do that. You can do it in a safe environment, and you can talk about the harm that came and how you want that addressed. Is that understanding?
Yes, and I feel a little bit better now.
Do you?
Knowing that whoever took my backpack and everything, I could sit down face to face and let them know
Mhm.
how I felt. And maybe they don't know how I feel, Mom. Maybe they don't know that we're struggling and everything, you know? So, yes, I feel confident that I can do this, Mom. I want to do it.
I know we can. I really just don't feel very great about letting people know that we are struggling.
Mhm.
But it certainly sounds like it'll be a good idea to meet with them.
Well, you can couch that in any terms that you want. If you're not comfortable saying how difficult it is financially, you can just say, we don't have a lot of cash, and we don't have a lot of things around the house. Whichever way you want to pose that, I'll leave that up to you.
Okay.
Okay? And
Okay.
again, remember, it's supposed to be a confidential meeting, and if you need reassurance from them, ask them in the meeting that we please keep this confidential. We'd like that. And if you want them to say, we agree to keep this confidential, even though we agree, and it says so in the agreement, which is something I did not mention to you at the bottom. I did show you the agreement, but it talks about the confidentiality and how we intend to keep that confidence between us.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, well, look, is there any particular day of the week or night that would suit you better in order to have this conference when we get together?
Yes, for me, Wednesday evenings are better, or
Better?
Saturday
Mhm.
afternoon.
And you're pretty flexible?
I wanna do it as soon as possible,
Mhm.
Mom.
Okay.
I wanna do it as soon as possible so we can get it out the way and everything, so I can feel so much better.
Okay.
Do you have a preference where we should meet? We have a list of churches in the office, and I can call there and find out which one closest here would be able to have us get a room and set up the meeting.
Well, I'm not that familiar with the territory, and I don't want to have to drive far to get there. So if you find a close location, then let us know.
We will do that,
Okay.
okay?
That's fine.
All right, and you have my number. If there's any time you want to get in touch with me, that's the office number. Let me give you my home number if you want to write that down, in case you need to get a hold of me for any particular reason. I want to put that on the back of this card. Please feel free to call me, but now that we've met with both of the parties, we should be able to move forward. I'll call and get a place set up, and I would say within the next week, we should be able to have this meeting.
Well,
Okay.
thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You take care.
Thank you, Mrs.
Mhm.
Singer.
Talk to you later.
Goodbye.